Hello again, welcome back. Welcome to a new edition of this English course, Inglés en TV, in Televisión Española, with the famous three books. These books are becoming famous. Y el pesado de Richard, que siempre está intentando vender, encasquetarte los libros. But they're very good books, very, very good. They're the best. They're the best books in the world for learning English. These three books. You don't need more. You don't need more. With these three books, you can reach the promised land on your own. All right. So, Nigel Perkins, do you remember in our last class yesterday we were talking about Nigel Perkins and his trip from London to Monaco. Monaco is a principality, un principado, a principality. And the city, or the capital, digamos, the capital of Monaco is Monte Carlo. And Monaco and Monte Carlo, I think, are the same square kilometers. It's the same. So they flew yesterday from London. Last week, excuse me. They flew from London to Monaco. They flew from Gatwick Airport, they didn't fly to Monaco from Heathrow Airport, and they didn't fly from Luton Airport, and they didn't fly from Stansted Airport. They flew to Monaco from Gatwick. Gatwick Airport is located south of London. Heathrow is located in London, but in the west. Yes, near the Thames River. Gatwick, no. So they drove to Gatwick. Do you remember? They drove to Gatwick, and they parked their car in the airport car park. Here it says parking lot. Parking lot is an American term. The British say car park. Car park. All right, car park. And they flew to Monaco in first class, which is expensive. And it's only 2 hours. But Margaret enjoys comfort. Me too, I enjoy comfort. Do you enjoy comfort? But Margaret especially enjoys comfort. So, because Nigel has money coming out his ears, all right, they went first class. All right. To visit their son, Ronnie. Okay. Una vez más. Last week, Nigel flew to Monte Carlo with his wife to visit their son, Ronnie. Nigel and his wife go to Monte Carlo 2 or 3 times every year between November and March because Ronnie is too busy the other half of the year to be with them. He's very busy in his job. They drove to Gatwick Airport on Wednesday morning and left the car at the airport parking lot or car park. They had first-class reservations. They had first-class reservations for the 2-hour flight. The plane left Gatwick on time at 11:15 and got to Monte Carlo 10 minutes early at 5 minutes to 1. Excuse me, 5 minutes past 1. Nigel and his wife weren't expecting to meet Ronnie at the airport. So they caught a taxi and went to his apartment near the port. Boop, boop. You see here? They're pushing the intercom. Yes, they were surprised. They were surprised to find that their son wasn't at home. Ronnie's not here. Nigel didn't have a key. I don't have a key either. Nigel, this is last week, Nigel didn't have a key to the apartment. Fíjate, en español se diría Nigel no tenía llave no tenía la llave del apartamento. We say in inglés, ya la llave al apartamento. Nigel didn't have a key to the apartment. So, así que, he and his wife spent some time looking at the shop windows along the street. After 20 minutes, they went back to the apartment, or to the apartment building. En Gran Bretaña suelen decir block of flats, pero esos son pisos. In America, we say condominium. Yes. So, they went back to the apartment building and tried again. Tried again. Tried again. Tried again. Ronnie still wasn't there. He still wasn't there. The temperature, temperature, 4 syllables, but normally we say 3. Temperature. And the British, temperature, temperature, temperature. Maybe I exaggerate a little, I'm not sure. The temperature today, the temperature was around 15 degrees centigrade, eh? And Nigel's wife felt a little cold. They decided to go to a small bookshop about 300 meters from Ronnie's apartment building. Nigel likes to spend time in bookshops, but his wife Margaret doesn't. So, aparece mucho aquí. So, Nigel asked permission to use the telephone and called Ronnie's mobile number. Ronnie was in a meeting with a tour operator not far from the bookshop. He said he was sorry. Perdona, papa. He said he was sorry and told Nigel that the porter, el conserje, the concierge, in his apartment building had a key to his apartment. Tiene una llave para su apartamento, a su apartamento. He had a key to his apartment. Nigel and Margaret walked back. Volvieron andando. O sea, anduvieron de regreso. Así se dice en inglés. Nigel and Margaret walked back to the building, called the porter, and asked for the key. Asked for. Yo digo asked for. Asked for the key. Ronnie arrived 2 hours later. Fíjate al usar, yo uso el verbo arrive porque no digo el destino. Llegó 2 horas más tarde. En inglés probablemente diríamos got back. Llegó de regreso. Got back. Y back es un destino. Got back 2 hours later. Ronnie arrived 2 hours later. Ronnie is a bit of a problem person. And Nigel is a very responsible man. He's an only child. Ronnie is an only child. Hijo único. And he grew up with money. So, Ronnie perhaps is not as responsible as his father for the moment. Maybe he'll change, maybe he won't. We'll follow his story. Yes. Tiene un papel secundario en la vida y milagro de mis personajes, pero bastante desarrollado. Ya veremos. Seguro que estás... you're probably reading future episodes, so you probably know. Don't read future episodes. Well, go ahead. Go ahead means adelante. Lee lo que quieras por aquí. If it's so suspenseful for you, what happens? What happens? All right. So, when did, ahora vamos desmenuzando, when did Nigel fly to Monte Carlo? When did he fly? When did he fly? When did he fly? When did he fly to Monte Carlo? When did he fly? When did he fly? When did he fly to Monaco? Suena mejor. When did he fly? When did he fly? When did he fly to the French Riviera? Monaco. When did he fly? Did he? When do I did dum did do? When did he? Así lo dice un nativo. British, American, Australian, Canadian. When did he fly? When did he go? When did he? When did he fly to Monte Carlo? He flew to Monte Carlo last week. What day did he fly there? He flew there on Wednesday. Good. So he flew to Monte Carlo last Wednesday. Wednesday of last week. Correct. Did he fly to Monte Carlo alone? No, he didn't. Did he fly with his brother? No, he didn't. Well, who did he fly to Monte Carlo with? ¿Quién voló a Monte Carlo él con? Que es mal suena en español, pero así en inglés. Who did he fly to Monte Carlo with? He flew to Monte Carlo with, o sea, precolocamos la preposición en su sitio para el afirmativo. O sea, tiene cierta lógica. ¿Con quién voló? ¿Con quién fue a Monte Carlo? En avión. O sea, ponéis con al principio. ¿Con quién fue? Pues fue con. Nosotros precolocamos la preposición en su sitio posterior. ¿Quién voló a Monte Carlo con? Pues voló a Monte Carlo con. He flew to Monte Carlo with his wife. Is his wife's name Magnolia? No, it's not. Is it Petunia? No, it's not. Is it Rosa? No, it's not. Well, what's his wife's name? His wife's name is Margaret. Ah, Margarita. Well, Margarita is Daisy. Margaret. Her name is Margaret. Okay. And why did they fly to Monte Carlo? Well, they flew to Monte Carlo to visit their son. What's their son's name? His name's Ronnie. Ronnie. Is Ronnie a nickname or a proper name? Ronnie is a nickname for Ronald, like Ronald McDonald, Ronald Reagan. Yes. So they flew to Monte Carlo to visit their son Ronnie. Do they fly to Monte Carlo very often? Well, it depends on your definition of often. Well, how often do they fly to Monte Carlo? They fly to Monte Carlo 2 or 3 times a year. Oh, that's not very often. Well, excuse me, wait a minute. They fly to Monte Carlo between November and March, creo. Between November and March. November, December, January, February, March. That's 5 months. 2 or 3 times in 5 months? So yes, they fly to Monte Carlo quite often, in my opinion. Yes. Yes, they go to Monte Carlo 2 or 3 times a year. Between November and March. And why do they fly there only between November and March? Well, they go to Monte Carlo only during those 5 months because the other 7 months, Ronnie is too busy. Too busy? Too busy doing what? Ronnie has a business. Oh, really? Yeah. What kind of business does he have? Excuse me? What kind of, what kind of, what kind of business does he have? Ronnie. What kind of business does he have? Does he? Yo me como la H, he. What kind of business does he have? He rents yachts. He rents yachts. Yes. ¿Cómo? He rents yachts. I don't understand. He renta, alquila yates. Oh. Se escribe yacht, se escribe yacht. Strange, crazy spelling. Yes. The person who invented the spelling of yacht should be in prison. All right. Yacht. Pero no es yacht, es yacht. Aquí se dice yate, yate. En inglés, yacht, yacht. So, it's interesting. He rents yachts and then re-rents them. So he has a margin during the tourist season, during the high season in Monte Carlo. All right. So he's too busy. He says, él dice, he says, Dad, Papa, don't come between April and October. I'm too busy. So Nigel and Margaret flies to Monte Carlo 2 or 3 times a year between November and March. Okay, now last Wednesday, okay, they flew to Monte Carlo. Correct. What airport did they fly from? Otra vez preposición al final. ¿Qué aeropuerto volaron desde? Precolocación, no? What airport did they fly from? They flew to Monte Carlo from Gatwick Airport. Where's Gatwick Airport located? It's located south of London, south of the center of London, near the M25. Yeah, it's a big airport, eh? It's the second most important airport in London after Heathrow. How did they go to Gatwick? Did they go on the tube, on the underground? No, they didn't. Did they take a taxi? Did they catch a taxi? Did they take a taxi? No, they didn't take a taxi. No, they didn't catch a taxi. Did they take a limousine? No, they didn't take a limousine. Did they have a chauffeur? A driver? No, they didn't. Well, how did they go? They drove. They drove. That's a long drive. I know. How do you know it's a long drive? Well, I remember from the first episode about Nigel Perkins. He lives in a country estate about 30 miles north of London along the M1 motorway. I remember that. Oh, that's true. Yeah. So he has to drive 30 miles. That's 50 kilometers. 30 miles down M1, and then go around M25, another 30 or 40 miles to Gatwick. It probably took an hour and a half. It probably took Nigel and his wife an hour and a half to drive to Gatwick Airport. And then when they returned on Saturday, it took them an hour and a half to drive back. So they spent more time driving, almost more time driving than flying. Okay, so they drove. They drove to Gatwick on Wednesday morning. The plane left at 11:15. They had to leave home at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Espero que valga la pena el chico, eh? I hope Ronnie's worth it, okay? Where did they leave the car? Well, they left the car in the car park, of course. I mean, where are you going to leave the car? On the runway? The runway is la pista de aterrizaje. All right. Oh, despegue. They left the car. They parked their car in the airport car park or at the airport parking lot. In American English, a parking lot is outside, exterior. A parking garage is underground. Even a parking garage can be above ground, but it's covered. But in the British, I repeat, car park, cubre todo, I think. Car park. Did they fly economy class? No, they didn't. Did they fly business class? No, they didn't. Well, how did they fly? They flew first class. Well, what's the difference between first class and business class? Nowadays, there's no difference. It's the same, I think. But then, this is several years ago, because Nigel didn't have you remember Nigel didn't have a cell phone. And so it was a long time ago. And so they flew first class. Why did they fly first class? Why not? They have enough money? Yeah, but it's not necessary for 2 hours. I agree with you. Yes. But maybe for Nigel, money is not a question. Comfort, perhaps for Nigel or for his wife, is more important than money. Maybe. I don't know. But they had first class. They flew first class. How long did the flight last? Excuse me? How long did the flight last? It lasted 2 hours. All right. Well, it was a 2-hour flight, but it lasted an hour and 50 minutes. Officially, it was a 2-hour flight, but it didn't last 2 hours. It lasted an hour and 50 minutes. How do you know? Because it says, aquí dice, it says, okay, see, it says the plane left Gatwick on time at 11:15 and got to Monte Carlo 10 minutes early. So it got to Monte Carlo, it arrived 10 minutes early at 5 minutes past 1. So the flight didn't last 2 hours. It lasted almost 2 hours. It lasted an hour and 50 minutes. Were Nigel and his wife expecting Ronnie at the airport? Was Ronnie planning to go to the airport to meet his parents? To pick up his parents? No, Ronnie wasn't planning to go to the airport to pick up his parents. And his parents knew this. Sus padres sabían esto. His parents, Nigel and Margaret, knew that Ronnie wasn't able to go to the airport. So they weren't expecting him at the airport. They weren't. No digas weren't para el pasado del to be con were. I was, you were, they weren't. They weren't expecting him. Escuche como enlazo. They weren't Texas. They weren't expecting him. They weren't expecting him at the airport. So what did they do? Well, they caught a cab. Excuse me? They caught a cab. I don't understand. They caught a cab. Cab, una cabina. Yes, por un lado, sí, but a cab is another word for taxi. There are 3 words for taxi. Taxi, cab, and taxi cab. Se dicen los dos juntos. Yeah, to catch a taxi cab. Se dice también mucho taxi cab. A cab, to catch a cab. Cabbie, a cab driver. A cab driver, a taxi driver. You remember Robert De Niro? He was a taxi driver in New York City, in Manhattan. A cab driver, a taxi cab driver. A cabbie. I think in London they say cabbie, but I'm not sure. Or in New York City, somewhere they say cabbie. So they caught a cab. They caught a taxi at the airport and went. And where did the taxi take them? The taxi took them, el taxi, or el taxista, the taxi driver, took them to cabbie, London cabbie. The taxi driver, si se dice cabbie in Londres, a London cabbie. The taxi driver took them to Ronnie's apartment. Ronnie's apartment is located near the port, cerca del puerto de Monaco, near the port. All right. Yes, near the port. So, did they ring the bell of Ronnie's apartment? Yes, they did. Who rang the bell? Nigel did. Can't you see? Can't you see? ¿No lo ves? Claro, en español yo diría, ¿no lo ves? Es Nigel, no Margaret, quien está tocando el timbre. ¿No lo ves? En inglés, ¿cómo se dice? Can't you see? ¿No puedes ver? No digo no puedes verlo. Can't you see? Can't you see? Can't you see? Nigel is pushing the button. Yeah. So, and were they expecting Ronnie to be at home? Yes, they were. They were expecting. La X es dura en inglés. They were expecting Ronnie to be at home. How do you know? Because they were surprised when he didn't answer. They were surprised to find, estaban sorprendidos de encontrar que no estaba. They were surprised to find that their son, my son, no, their son wasn't at home. Surprised. Estaban sorprendidos. Esto es participio. Pero el pasado simple, me sorprendiste ayer, es igual, surprised. Escucha la pronunciación. Surprise. Surprised. Supper. Una cena sorpresa. Surprise supper. Surprise supper. Claro, se escribe surprised, sur, como el norte-sur, pero la pronunciación en inglés es supper, surprise, surprise, surprise. Yes. So they were surprised to find that their son wasn't at home. But did Nigel have a key to the apartment? No, he didn't have a key to the building, and he didn't have a key to the apartment. He didn't have any keys. So what did he do? Well, what did he do? Maybe I'll tell you tomorrow.